1993. Phoenix, Arizona. A quiet suburban home. And a nightmare that would haunt investigators for nearly 3 decades. For 28 years, no one knew who killed Lynn Parker, until a single drop of blood, preserved on an old piece of fabric, revealed a name no one expected. Lynn Parker was 27 years old, bright, independent, and loved by everyone who knew her. She worked as a graphic designer, had a small apartment near the canals, and spent weekends hiking with friends. Her life was simple and full of plans. On the evening of October 10, 1993, she called a friend around 7 p.m. She said, "Don't wait up for me, I'll be home soon." That was the last time anyone heard her voice. The next morning, police were called. Inside her bedroom, chaos, bloodstains, overturned lamps, and silence. But among the mess was one tiny clue, a torn piece of fabric soaked in blood, too small to analyze back then, but destined to change everything. According to police reports, Lynn left work around 6:40 p.m. It was a warm Arizona night. She stopped by a convenience store near her apartment. Surveillance footage showed her smiling, unaware she was being followed. Witnesses later recalled hearing a struggle around 8 p.m. near the canal. A neighbor said he heard what sounded like a woman screaming, but when he looked out, there was nothing. Just the water, rippling under the moonlight. Hours later, police discovered signs of forced entry. A missing watch, a partial footprint on the windowsill, and that piece of cloth wedged beneath her fingernail. The case gripped local media for months, but leads vanished. Lynn's boyfriend passed a polygraph. A co-worker's DNA didn't match. And the years rolled by. Police didn't know it then. But that one tiny sample, smaller than a grain of rice, would one day speak louder than a confession. Forensic science in the 1990s was still primitive. DNA analysis required large, clean samples. Lynn's evidence was too degraded, too small. So detectives boxed it away, labeling it Unsolved, Cold Case, number 2041.
Her family never stopped asking questions. Every October, on her birthday, they held a small candlelight vigil. Her mother, eyes wet with tears, would whisper, "Please, just tell us who did this."
By 2005, DNA databases like CODIS existed, but the sample wasn't eligible. It wasn't until 2018 that a new team reopened the box. Detective Maria Gonzalez, a veteran cold case investigator, took another look, and she noticed something others missed. The torn fabric still held trace DNA. Technology had evolved, and so had genealogy science. If they could upload the genetic profile to an ancestry database, they might find a relative and work backward to the killer. But whose blood was it? And what if the killer was still out there? In 2021, the Phoenix Cold Case Unit partnered with a private lab specializing in forensic genetic genealogy. The sample was reanalyzed, digitized, and compared to thousands of public DNA profiles. After weeks of analysis, they found a partial match, a distant relative living in Utah. By building a family tree, investigators traced the line back to one name, Mark Davis, a former Phoenix resident who once lived just 4 blocks from Lynn Parker. Detectives started tailing him. He was 51 now, quiet, unremarkable. When questioned, he denied ever knowing Lynn, but surveillance told a different story. In 2022, police obtained a discarded coffee cup from Davis's trash. The DNA on that cup was a match, 99.8% probability. But then, something even stranger surfaced. After, Mark Davis wasn't the only one sharing that DNA. Further analysis revealed that the killer's genetic signature had slight variations, enough to suggest a close relative. Mark had a younger brother, Simon Davis, who had left Phoenix abruptly in 1994. Simon's DNA was tested using a genealogy court order, and it was a perfect match. After 28 years, the truth was finally out. Simon Davis was arrested for the murder of Lynn Parker in June 2023. In court, Mark broke down, admitting he'd helped his brother cover up the crime. He said, "I thought it would go away, but it never did." Simon was sentenced to life without parole.
For years, I prayed for a voice from heaven. Turns out, it was science that spoke.
One DNA strand, one stubborn detective, and nearly 3 decades of silence, until technology finally whispered the truth. How many more secrets still sleep in police evidence boxes across the world? And what if the next one could be solved tomorrow? If you want to see more unsolved cases finally brought to light, hit that like button, subscribe, and tell me in the comments which cold case I should cover next.